Hey Internet, I'm going to do a slightly different video today just because I've seen a lot of stupid stuff on the Twitters, and I probably just shouldn't be on Twitter, but I am, and I keep seeing stupid crap, so I'm going to rant about it. Now, this all started, I think, a day or two ago with a tweet that is now deleted, so I can't actually quote it to you, but basically someone was pointing to an article, presumably a ridiculous one, saying that women now make up the majority of gamers, and therefore gaming and the stereotypes in gaming all need to end. I'm like, well, that's silly, because if women had been playing all these games that exist and have come up to the point where they're the majority of the people playing these games, clearly the games don't need to change. The women are enjoying them. That's why it's mostly women playing them. So if anything, you're arguing against yourself with that post. But then I saw another tweet today, and I'll put it on the screen because it hasn't been deleted, at least not before I could screen capture it. And it says, oh, phone, why do you never cooperate? It says, funny how folks jump on the trends, even with games. I never have, because he's not like all the other girls. Now all I see is Horizon Zero Dawn and Control in my feed. Both games have female lead characters. One of the reasons I haven't gone near them. I play video games to get away from women, not to play as them.
What?
First of all, sir, women are very thankful that you are trying to get away from them. I think I'm not a woman, obviously, but I think I can speak for all of them when I say thank you. But what a ridiculously stupid thing to post. First of all, people are talking about Horizon Zero Dawn because it's an amazing game. Of all the open world action-adventure games that I've played similar to that, that's one of the better ones. Like, I would probably, and I know this is heresy to say, but I would probably even put that one above Skyrim. It's an amazing game. But also the concept that girls in games is becoming a trend, or is just something people do to be popular. You know, oh, I'm going to put a female lead in my game. That'll make it stick out. Like, no. Women in games have always existed. Like, since the beginning on the NES, back with games like Metroid. And, you know, in, I think it was the third Adventures of Lolo, you play as Lala. And Super Mario Bros. 2 with Princess Peach. And the trend has always continued, and more games have come out, both indie and AAA, that star women. You know, games like Bombshell, and Blade Kitten, and Mortal Kombat, and the entire Atelier series, and Tales of Berseria, and Mirror's Edge, and Beyond Good and Evil, and Cameo, and Hyperdimension Neptunia, Bayonetta, Tomb Raider, Bloodstain, Fat Princess, Bullet Witch, Space Channel 5, Banjo-Kazooie, Last of Us, Perfect Dark, Okami, Parasite Eve, Shantae, Valkyria Chronicles, Toho, or however you pronounce that series, Resident Evil, Arcana Hearts, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And don't get me started that has a male lead too, but no, it doesn't. If you picked the male to play in that game, you're an absolute idiot, and you played the game wrong. And that's not all of them. That's not an exhaustive list. That's barely scratching the surface. And infinite more games starring females are going to come out in the future. I mean, two right now that I know of that are being actively developed, that I kickstarted and have pushed and promoted as much as possible, would be The Girl from Arcania and Romancylvania. And just, women in games has always been a thing. It's always going to continue being a thing. And these games that I just listed off, they're not, like, these are all ones in my collection, but they're all over the place as far as genre. You know, there's platformers, there's RPGs, there's action adventures, there's hack and slash, there's puzzle solving, there's everything in there. So it's not like girls are only in games that are for girls. Like, oh, well, Farmville 2 you can play as a girl. Like, no, women are in every kind of game. And women play every kind of game, which brings me to my next point, that women playing games, even if they are the majority, which, I mean, would make sense, women make up more of the human population than men. But if they are the majority of gamers, I don't know why that's newsworthy. Like, women have always played games, and no one said they shouldn't or couldn't. You know, growing up, I was, I think, 3 when we got an NES. And the person that showed me how to solve a lot of the puzzles in the original Legend of Zelda was my mother. And the person I played co-op in Ikari Warriors and Kung Fu Heroes, was my little sister, who later would go on to absolutely school me in games like Left 4 Dead and Gears of War. I've had several girlfriends in the past that I've played World of Warcraft with, or StarCraft, or various RTS titles. My current girlfriend not only is someone I played World of Warcraft with, but also is a complete troll in town of Salem, and is a badass in games like Call of Duty and Modern and Battlefield. There we go. I know shooter titles. And even her daughter, who has been in several videos now, is a third of my age and can kick my butt in Overwatch, and probably lots of other people's too. So, women playing games, it's not a new phenomenon, it's not crazy or stand out, and really, I think the only way to do justice to the fact that women play games is to stop saying things like gamer girls, or making a big deal out of, oh, women make up a majority. No. Why even call it out? Why make it seem like it's an abnormal thing? Women playing games is completely normal. Just don't even bring attention to it because it's not worth bringing attention to. And I know I'm going against what I just said because I'm talking about it right now, but I guess I have to because so many people are stupid. And yeah, I don't know why it's surprising either that women in games is such a thing, because women don't just play the games, they also make them, and that's been a pretty common phenomenon for quite a while too. I just saw a news article today, and of course I've forgotten most of the details about it, so I can't get into the facts, but basically one of the larger mobile game development companies, they specialize in anime-style games, and it's run by twin sisters who decided to start the company pretty much just to say, hey, this is a male-dominated thing, and it shouldn't be, and there's no reason for that, so we're going to start a company, and they did, and they've thrived, and they've made a killing. And of course they have. Why wouldn't they? Girls play games, girls are in games, girls can make games. There's no reason not to. If anything, it's just one more way we can get a slightly different narrative and slightly different stories, because if every story is always being told by just a white guy or a particular demographic, then the range of stories you're going to get and the amount of different varied stories you're going to get is going to be small, and it's not going to be as fun. I want stories created by every kind of person from every kind of background and race and religion and gender and sexuality and whatever, because I just want cool stories. I want as many unique, interesting takes on games as I can possibly get. And honestly, if you enjoy games at all, you should too. And one point that people do try to make as far as women not being in games or not playing games or not wanting to play games, or just saying that the gaming industry is unfair to women, is of course the body image thing. They're saying, oh, it's a very unrealistic body image, someone like Samus or Bayonetta, the way they look, that's not how real women look. And while, first of all, that's not true, some women do. But do you think it's any better the other way? Do you think all men look like Link or, Auron or Cloud? Like, no, of course not. If I want to see a guy that looks like me in a video game, my options are pretty much Bo Rai Cho and the Heavy from Team Fortress 2. Like, that standard goes both ways. It's just as ridiculous for everybody. And that's not so much a sexism thing, it's just, it's a fantasy. If you're going to create a fantasy story or an idealized setting and an idealized character in an idealized world, you're going to go with what appeals to you the most. When you're making up a fantasy scenario in your head or picturing an ideal story or setting, you're not picturing the worst version of yourself. If I were to write a story and put myself in it, I would use the younger, more in shape, more attractive version of myself, not the current, fat, out of shape version. No one would. That's ridiculous. So, if you're creating a fantasy story with a fantasy character, you're going to use the most appealing person to be that character. And also, realistically, it kind of makes sense that these characters in these games are all in the shape that they're in. When you play all these action and RPG and adventure games, with all the running and climbing and jumping and just carrying heavy objects and big guns and just all the things that they do, they're going to be skinny and fit and in amazing shape. That's what happens when you do those kinds of things. You know, if the game is Couch Simulator, where you sit for 10 hours a day and binge watch everything on Netflix, that character should be a fat ass. They should have acne and, you know, facial hair that hasn't been groomed in way too long, and dirty clothes, and that would make sense. But for all the shooters and the action RPGs and everything else that we all play, the characters, both men and women, should be in great shape. It just makes sense for the setting. And for all of us, if you're going to stare at a character on a screen, you want it to be one that's physically appealing. So, whether it be male or female, you know, if I have to stare at Kratos' ass all day, I'd like it to at least be an in-shape ass. It just makes sense. And yeah, I don't really know where else to go with this rant. Women in games is a good thing. I don't know why that even needs to be said. It's completely ridiculous. If you're one of these weird neckbeard fedora losers out there, and I say that as someone that likes to wear a fedora, but because I'm Italian, not because I'm a friggin' incel or whatever, stop, you idiot. Like, not only do you sound like an absolute moron, but in what way are you helping yourself? Do you think keeping women away from your hobby is going to somehow endear you to women? Because, I mean, just thinking about it from a purely, you know, macho, whatever, stupid standpoint like that, you want the women to be around you so you can score with them, right? So then don't scare them away from your hobby. Like, if you spend all your time on games and all the other people playing them are female, you've kind of just increased your odds with those females. So I don't know. This goes against all logic and reason in pretty much every way, and it's just stupid. So yeah, I guess I'm going to call it that. Actually, no, I'm not. Oh, actually, there's a recent indie title that I just want to plug because it deserves it. It was developed by a man, but it was actually completely designed by a 6-year-old girl, who also happens to be his daughter. But it's a wonderful and charming game, and it's made by a girl. And really, if you're going to get anything from this rant, it should be that Doodle World is a really cool game. Definitely go play it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Happy Women's History Month. Guys are retarded. And just everyone play games that you enjoy. I don't know why crap like this needs to be a conversation. Just play games and be happy and shut up.